Hey, it's Gary. Welcome. This is where success and freedom lives. All right, great to have you today. We're going to talk about how billion-dollar companies get to the point of becoming billion-dollar companies where smaller companies think some of the things that they do are absolutely ridiculous, and that's why, because they don't have the right mindset, they have a hard time growing. So, are you ready to talk about that? Hopefully you are. Hit a comment in below where you can say, yes, I'm ready. How about yes, I'm ready in the comments? Now, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, would love to have you do that. Some time ago we got hacked, so we are starting from scratch. So here we go. Let's say that you own a floral shop and you also deliver flowers. So you hire me as a consultant, and I drive with you on a delivery. Let's say you're going to do the deliveries today for whatever reason, and I watch you throughout the day doing your deliveries. You know, you start the car, you put the flowers in the car, you deliver it to the hospital or to the people's house or the happy birthday party, whatever. And as I work with you, you're bringing me on as a consultant, and I'm going to look at certain things that you do. And if I said to you, you know, I think you should take your keys and hold them in your pinky. That way you have extra fingers to do other stuff. And then as you got in the car, if I said to you, you know, when you put your seatbelt on, how about putting your seatbelt on and starting the car at the same time? Oh, here's another one. Why don't you try to eliminate left turns? Because left turns take longer and cost you more. You look at me like, what? This is a little crazy. Now, it may sound crazy, but you know what? There's a multi-billion-dollar company that makes sure that all these little details are done, and if they're not done, they lose millions, if not billions of dollars. Let's talk about it. Let's switch over to the whiteboard, and let's talk about some very interesting concepts that make billion-dollar companies billion-dollar companies. All right, so if you study UPS, let's talk about UPS. They have over 100,000 vehicles out there. They probably have more than that. I bet you they probably have 200,000, but last I read it was older material. It was over 1,000. So let's say it's 1,000, whatever. Now, they train their people, their drivers, they train them to have their keys on their pinky so they have availability of other fingers. And then when they get in the car, or their truck I should say, they teach them to put their seatbelt on and start at the same time. Now, you may think that's crazy, but first of all, what they're doing and what you need to do is you need to pay attention to details. Pay attention to details. So they pay attention to details. They look for everything that they can do to make change. Now, the next thing they do is you want to be thinking about this. I don't care if you have no desire to become a billion-dollar company, but you want to be more efficient. So what you want to do is you want to take your tasks and multiply them. You want to multiply your tasks. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're in the car delivering your flowers and you get in the car and you put the seatbelt on and then you turn the key on, that took, let's say, I don't know, let's just make it up. Let's say that took you 5 seconds, all right, 5 seconds. But if you go ahead and do your seatbelt and the key at the same time, you could maybe do that in 2 seconds. Let's say 2.5 to make it easy. So what you've done is you've cut the task in half. But somebody might reason, but Gary, come on, we're delivering flowers. This is just, I mean, you know, what's the big deal? But if you think about things in a bigger scope, if you multiply everything you do, think about this. If now maybe you don't have a goal to have 100,000 people delivering flowers for our flower company, but it doesn't matter. You want to get in the mindset and the mode of these two things. Pay attention to details and multiply everything. Look at everything that you're doing. If you were to multiply it times 100,000, is there room to change where you would save thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars? So in this little simple case of us driving, doing deliveries to flowers, with the flowers, right, we could cut the time that we put the seatbelt on and start the vehicle by half. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but if you look at things in the big picture, so let's say we had 100 people working for us delivering flowers. Now, you take that 2.5 seconds, you multiply that by 100, that's a lot of time. Well, maybe you think it's not that much time, but what about all the other things that you look for in your company, that you're paying attention to details that you can do differently to make things smoother and save a lot of money? And a lot of times when people are smaller, when companies are smaller, they have a hard time thinking this way, and whether they realize it or not, look, if a multi-billion-dollar company is losing money because this microphone, if they're losing money because they're taking twice as long to do something, why would you think that it's better for you not to do it this way and do it the long way because there's only one vehicle in your company? But the whole concept is if you focus on paying attention to detail and then you multiply everything that you do, if you multiply it, when you multiply it, what's going to happen is you're going to realize in the big scope of things, wait a minute, if I multiply this times 1,000 or 3,000 and I keep doing it this way, over time I'm losing thousands and thousands of dollars, all right? So this is something for you to think about. What are some concepts? What I'd like you to do now is apply this in your own business for those of you who are entrepreneurs. You can apply this principle vacuuming the house. I mean, every little thing that you can do, you can always change things. And this is where process and systems, excuse my handwriting, processes and systems, huge. So now to change all these things, once you identify things by paying attention to the details, then you figure out, okay, now we're doing A, B, and C. Let's pretend that we're doing this 1,000,000 times throughout the year or 100 times throughout the year. What now could be a new process or system that we could implement to shave the time off in half, which would in turn create more income and more savings for the company? Make sense? Very powerful way of doing things. So one of the things that I do in my company is we are very checklist driven, and we use checklists to save a ton of time. And the systems and processes that we implement using checklists are because we don't rely on our memory to do things. We don't have to be bogged down. Was this done? Was this done? We know it's going to get done if the checklist is used. If the checklist is not used, then we're probably going to have some failures along the way. And then while we're using the checklists and creating the checklist, the next thing that we're looking for is, as we pay attention to the details on the checklist, if we were to multiply everything that's going on in here, what can we do to change and tweak and make better and better? And when you think along these strategies, when you think along this path, when you create this kind of mindset, it is mind-boggling what you're able to do in a company. And this is what happens when I go into a company and I look for things and strategies that they could change to improve. And if you were to study companies like a Sandals Resorts, that's my company's sponsor, the attention to detail and the things that they do, one little change that they do, because they do tens or hundreds of thousands of one specific thing over and over. And if you make one little tweak, in the long term, it could save millions of dollars. So something for you to think about as a budding entrepreneur, or perhaps you might already be a successful entrepreneur with a company. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. There'll be a lot more. And our next Beyond First Class Familiarization Mastermind, that's where I take you and your team, if you want to bring somebody with you or a partner or colleague. We go to Sandals Resorts in the Bahamas, and we spend an entire day together talking about things like this, things and strategies and ideas to grow your business, not just pump up raw stuff, but things that you can do and implement to get changes and results right away. If you're interested in that, there'll be a link below that you can put in an application. And the next one, like I said, is December the 5th. It's coming up not too far from now. All right. Hey, thanks for hanging with me today. Between now and the next time we get to chat, you know what to do. Don't let others rent space in your head. Have an awesome day. We'll see you.